Good day, everyone. So in today's how-to, I want to take a look at a brand new Cribl feature that came out in the 4.13 release, namely where the stream workers or edge nodes will now stay visible in the UI if they get disconnected from the leader. So previously, if that occurred, they would vanish. With this improvement, they will now stay visible in the UI and show as disconnected. So we're going to take a look at that. You can also configure how long after the disconnection the nodes stay tracked. So we're going to take a look at that setting. And finally, the question that already has come up is how would I alert on these? So we're going to take a look here at using the Cribl API for this workers, and in particular, this one here, this master workers, that gets the list of worker and edge nodes, which can both be useful just to get some stats or details on your nodes, but we can also use this filter expression parameter to only get the ones where the disconnected equals true. Once we have that working as a REST collector, the events would go into your normal stream flow, and for your alerting purposes, you could direct those as any event through your pipelines to a SIM or other system of analysis, or even over into Cribl Lake, where you could then make a Cribl search that runs on a schedule and triggers a notification, whether by email, PagerDuty, etc., using that search capability. So that one, of course, for cloud customers only. For others, you would just want to send it over to your system of analysis. So first, let's just take a look here at our workers list and this UI. So here on our worker nodes, we see this connection status. We're going to see in a minute where that changes the icon for us. We also see this disconnected total here at the top and a disconnected at time. You can also filter to only disconnected items here in the UI just by going to the filters and selecting disconnected. Here, nothing shows up. In a moment, we'll see how that changes. So before I actually go and disconnect this node, let's go take a look at our worker group and how would we configure the setting, right, on how long this is going to stay visible. So if we go to our worker groups, in my case, my default hybrid and worker group settings, you're going to notice here just in the general settings, the time to keep the disconnected workers. And if you highlight over the tooltip, you'll see the default is 1 day. And that if you don't provide a unit, it will default to days. But otherwise, some examples, 8 hours, 5 days, 1 week. You can set how long you would like a disconnected node to stay visible before it's deemed as just being gone, perhaps right when we're actually removing nodes and don't want them to show up forever. Then let's take a quick look here at our REST collector. The first preview we're going to run is not going to have any filter and just going to show us how we're using this master workers to get a list of our existing edge or worker nodes. For the authentication portion, that's pretty standard, just Cribl auth. So for the cloud, you're going to use the OAuth. For on-prem, that username and password as defined in the API docs. The only other portion here is I did create an event breaker rule called Cribl audit. So typically I would start with a no breaking rule to see what data comes back and craft a proper rule set. I've already done that. And in this case, it's just a JSON array and the details we want, it's in an items array. So with that, let's go take a preview run. So we don't have any parameters set up here yet. So we're just going to get a full list of workers regardless of their status. And if we do a run and preview, we then see here that it returned 4 items for us. So this first one, right, our default hybrid group, we see these 2 default worker nodes. And then here we see an edge node in my Linux fleet as well. If we drill into it, we will see some stats. You can get the IP and the version and all that great detail here for your workers or your edge nodes. But the main one here today that's of interest is this disconnected flag. So currently that is set to false since the communication back to the leader is working just fine. So next, let's go and I will disrupt the traffic on that one. And it does take about a minute or so. for a few of those heartbeats to fail before it becomes visible as disconnected here. So there is a little bit of grace. It does give it a chance to recover, and it's not immediate. So I've enabled my firewall rule, which is now blocking that traffic. And it will take approximately about a minute or so for that change to occur here in the UI. So I'm just going to pause the recording for that period so you don't have to wait for that time. Okay, so we're back. So that took, maybe about a minute, maybe a little bit less in this case, for that to show up here. But what we're going to notice is the connection icon, right, has changed. If we hover over it, will tell us the worker is disconnected. It shows us the time where it was disconnected, and that the last heartbeat, right, was basically at that same time. Likewise, again, if we go to our filters, we can now select disconnected, and it will filter this list to only this one item. So next, let's go take a look at our REST collector preview here again. So again, without changing any of the settings, we're going to get the list of all nodes. So I should still get 4 results here. And if we take a look at this first one for my default hybrid, we now see this disconnected flag has been set to true. So this is the parameter that we can use with this filter exp or filter expression parameter in order to only get that list. So rather than getting all 4, we just want this one result, noting that the other ones here are all healthy. So with that, we go back into our REST collector, just add parameter. That's that filter exp here on the name, and the value, we can just put disconnected equals true. You don't have to put spaces. I like them for just visibility purposes here. And we'll do a save. If I was doing a scheduled run on this one or a full run, we would need to commit and deploy the change. In this case here, just doing a preview, we don't need to worry about that. So when I do my preview run now, we only get that one result where that node was disconnected. So that eliminates a lot of the noise. And I could direct this now again over to my system of analysis, or what I plan to do a bit later here is set up a lake destination and direct my route for these events to go straight into that one. And again, that will let me go into my search and create a saved search where if we have one of these, we could just use any one. If it's being scheduled, then we do have this option to send notifications. So if we have a data set for these for cloud folks, this is a great way that you can use Cribl to go and then generate some alerts when those workers are down, or your edge nodes get disconnected rather. And I should note that my worker is still running. I didn't actually stop the service, so it would continue to process data, etc., as a worker would when disconnected from the leader. Collector jobs and those scheduled ones, of course, that require that communication wouldn't, but my standard ones would. So in this case, my worker's not really down. I have just broken that metric traffic back, or that connection, right, status connection back to my leader. So I do want to highlight that. The last bit here, I did notice when I restore the connection, it does take a little bit as well for the UI to come back that direction. So just kind of be aware of that. When you do restore it, it may not be immediate before it kind of retries to make that connection back to the leader. So I hope that was helpful on how you can not only monitor or see here in the UI when a node goes down and what that looks like, how you can configure how long these will stay visible, and how you can use the Cribl API with the REST collector to trigger some alerting. So I hope that was useful. Have a great day,